Kia ora. Ko Smith aho. Nā mai ki te whare, welcome to the House. In a brief show, it is seldom easy to give a good impression of the nuances that exist in a parliamentary debate. A few debates are a little bit monochromatic, but for many issues, the best descriptor is it's complicated. The problem will be complicated, any worthwhile solutions complicated, the politics that sit between the problem and the solution very complicated. And that is definitely true of one of the bills debated this week. The Minister in charge is Paul Goldsmith.
I move that the Sentencing Reform Amendment Bill be now read a second time. The bill continues to give effect to the Coalition Government's commitments to restore law and order and to ensure appropriate consequences for offenders.
Justice is an emotionally fraught topic. It's electorally powerful. Its predominant subjects skew to quite specific demographic groups. Sentencing is freighted with centuries of political baggage and a permanent disconnect between human philosophy and human emotion. But none of that beats a punchy soundbite. Cameron Luxton.
And what we found was that cuddles for criminals was not ending the amount of perpetrators we had. All we got were more victims.
Oh, and it also has constitutional overtones. More on that in a moment. All in all, it is one of the most fraught of political battlegrounds. For National, Tom Rutherford.
The difference between the government and the opposition on this piece of legislation could not be starker. It could not be starker. On this side, we are relentlessly focused on restoring law and order and putting victims at the heart of our justice system. On that side, they are soft on crime.
I expect MPs could have argued about the sentencing bill all night without running out of material or agreeing. The main thrust of the bill is this. Ginny Anderson.
The crux of the matter is the legislation reduces the range of sentences that a judge may impose on an offender and is intended to reduce the discretion of a judge in imposing a sentence.
It's worth noting that everyone agrees that there is a problem to solve. For Labour, RNZ Williams.
None of us want the kind of community that feels like people don't have an alternative to crime and that only punishments are the way to get young people on a track to success, where our principals are dealing daily with a rise in violent crime and knife crime in our schools. That has never been a feature of our South Auckland schools, and it is something that is happening now. We need real solutions for this, Madam Speaker, and it is sobering to think that we as elected representatives are presiding over a situation in New Zealand which is completely unacceptable and should never have been a part of growing up as a young person in our communities.
The difference comes in how to solve it and where you should aim the solution. RNZ Williams, for example, continued by saying this.
Bills like this do not do the hard job of addressing the causes of crime in our communities.
But on the other side of the equation and from the electorate right next door, National's Rima Nakle.
Absolutely, we want to punish people further. And there's a reason why we want to punish people further. Because my neighbours in Takanini were telling me over and over and over again that there seems to be no more consequences for violent crime.
The retributive impulse is not the whole picture of most policy, though. So, also speaking for National, Greg Fleming.
They needed to spend some time inside our prison, being subjected, going through our rehabilitation services, and that is what we as a government are absolutely committed to seeing more investment and better programs in there to restore these people to the people that they should be and can be.
A debate like this one gets murky quickly because there are no easy solutions, and because it's complicated enough that often a perpetrator can also be a victim. For New Zealand First, Casey Costello.
This idea that we are punching down on our rangatahi, we are punching down on our youth, no, we are protecting them. We are protecting them from being manipulated by serious criminals who are using our young people to be the face of their crimes.
I alluded to a constitutional complication, and that's a whole other kettle of fish whereby Parliament makes the laws and the sentencing guidelines. But there is a line where at some point the judiciary is meant to be independent, another branch of government. Not preeminent, but respected for its own expertise in its own domain. MPs use the word comity, mutual respect. RNZ Williams to finish.
But it is also really important to give judges the role that they do in our justice system, which is to assess the appropriate sentencing and the appropriate conditions in each case. That is why Parliament doesn't set compulsory sentences for every type of crime and every type of offending. There is a reason why this House is not the court that decides every sentence for every person in every case.
Did I mention it was complicated? You've been listening to The House. E te whakaronga koe ki te whare. This program is produced with funding from Parliament's Office of the Clerk. Mā te wā.